So far, Mario Cristobal's tenure with his alma mater in the Miami Hurricanes has been, well, to put it nicely, very underwhelming. And that's not even putting it nicely, that's also saying the least. He just hasn't performed up to expectations that this fan base has for this program. They want to be towards, if not at the top of the ACC, competing for national championships. Well, with bringing in some really good players out of the transfer portal, that's exactly what Miami is hoping to do in 2024. Can they make a sneaky push to the playoff this upcoming season? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel, and welcome back to Prediction Season. This is where I predict each and every single one of the 134 FBS level college football teams. I'm doing that this summer, which means obviously I'm doing your favorite team if you do root for an FBS team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. And thank you for watching this video. It helps support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. And if you want to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, please like, comment, share, and do anything else you can to help support the channel, because whatever you do to help support the channel does mean a lot to me. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the Hurricanes in 2024, how we do that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go through the team's offense, the team's defense, and we are also going to be going through the 2024 schedule for Miami and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. Couple footnotes before we dive on into everything here. You will see in this little bar right here the stats that the team put up both offensively and defensively last season. And then for your viewing pleasure, right below the team's logo, I have put the team's coaching staff. So I will waste no more time, and without any further delay, let us talk about the Miami Hurricanes in 2024. We're going to start out with the offense, start out with the most important position on the field. And they are losing their starter over the past couple of years in Tyler Van Dyke. 2,703 yards on 66% completion percentage roughly, with 19 touchdowns and 12 interceptions here with Miami. It just never really worked out for Van Dyke with this program. Expectations were always super high, especially after that first season that he emerged onto the scene with this program. He could never really get back to those numbers, and thus, to a lot of Hurricanes fans, disappointed year in and year out. You also do lose Ja'Curry Brown through the portal as well. Van Dyke is going to go over to transfer to Wisconsin, and Brown is going over to UCF. Nonetheless, you do get Emory Williams coming back 470 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick last year, but they were lacking at the quarterback position, so they do bring in a couple transfers. A really fun name to say in Reese Poffenbarger is coming over from Albany, but Cam Ward is coming in from Washington State. He is the staple in this offense this year, and look, has had phenomenal numbers throughout his entire career. Last year, 3,735 yards, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, all the way back in 2021 during his season with Incarnate Word, 4,648 yards, 47 touchdowns, and 10 picks. He is a dynamic weapon. Cam Ward is going to be an absolutely phenomenal quarterback here for the Miami Hurricanes in 2024. He is going to lead this offensive attack. Miami finally gets an upgrade at the quarterback position, and they get one of the best quarterbacks in the country, at least in my opinion, in Cam Ward. The skill position room, though, does lose some pretty good pieces in both rooms. In the running back room, you do lose Henry Parrish, who was the leading rusher last year, 625 yards and 6 touchdowns. Donald Chaney is also going to be gone off of this team as well. And then in the wide receiver room, Tyler Harrell is going to be going off to the NFL. Only 4 catches for 45 yards last season, but we know how talented of a player that he can be when he's fully healthy. Nonetheless, he is off to the NFL. Colby Young, Brashard Smith, Frank Ladson, which just never really worked out with this program. They are all gone through the transfer portal. The most notable one of that is Colby Young. Colby Young, 563 yards, 5 touchdowns for this team last season. And Brashard Smith, 263 yards of his own last year as well. And hey, let's just go ahead and talk about the tight end room as well. Jaleel Skinner out of the tight end room, only 1 catch for 9 yards last season, but he has also gone through the transfer portal. So your skill position rooms look like this. Mark Fletcher is going to be coming back to the running back room. He, last season, 514 yards and 105 carries, 5 touchdowns last season. A.J. Allen, the former Nebraska transfer, also comes back, 361 yards and 5 touchdowns. Does have some turnover issues there that he's still trying to get figured out as well. But you do have some freshmen coming in, Elijah Lofton and Jordan Lyle. But the big get in this running back room is Damian Martinez. Coming over from Oregon State, was a 1,000-yard rusher last season, 1,185 yards, 9 touchdowns, did have 126 receiving yards as well. But those rushing numbers in 194 carries, that's 6.1 yards per carry. He averaged that last year. He averaged that in 2022. So you're getting a 6-yard per carry guy in Damian Martinez to lead this running back room, along with Cam Ward, really high-profile transfer. You do get Xavier Restrepo back in the wide receiver room as well, which is a big get back to this team. 1,000-yard receiver last year, 1,092 yards, 6 touchdowns. He'll be joined by Jacoby George, who was the second leading receiver last season, and Isaiah Horton. You got a player coming over from the transfer portal in Samuel Brown. He will be coming over from Houston, a very good player in his own right over there, along with Nykar and Josisa Trader, who come in as freshmen. The tight end room has Elijah Arroyo coming back, Riley Williams, and Cam McCormick to lead that group. Now we got to talk about the offensive line. Matt Lee and Javion Cohen are both gone to the league. They're going to be playing on Sundays. And Logan Sagapolu and Jonathan Davis are gone through the portal. So your offensive line consists of some of these players: Francis Maui-Goa, Inez Cooper, Jalen Rivers, Tommy Kinsler, Samson Okunlola, and Matthew McCoy all return to this offensive line grouping, while Zach Carpenter does come in through the transfer portal. He is coming in by way of the Indiana Hoosiers. Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, Xavier Restrepo. That is a really, really good quarterback, running back, and wide receiver trio. Obviously, Cam Ward is going to be that starting quarterback for the team this year. He's going to be electric. He's got a lot of guys to utilize. Damian Martinez is a very, very good running back. Mark Fletcher's not bad in his own right either. That's going to be a really good number 2 guy. Some of these impact freshmen in the running back wide receiver room could make some pretty big plays for this Miami offense this year as well. That rush offense going to be right back where it was last year. The pass offense is certainly going to improve, and under the offensive coordinator in Shannon Dawson, this is a Miami offense that is getting ready to, I think, have a pretty breakout season. The offensive line was even pretty good last year. Only 16 sacks allowed last year. You probably would like that number to go down a little bit, but they are capable of doing so, and this Miami offense is capable of having an absolutely ginormous season, and I think they surpass a lot of numbers they put up last year. But the defense, under defensive coordinator Lance Guidry, is a little bit of a different story. There's a lot of overturn with this defense, especially in the defensive front 7 and especially on this defensive line. You take a look at some of the most notable guys that went off to the league. That's Leonard Taylor III and Branson Dean. 38 tackles between the two, 3.5 sacks between the two of them as well. Both interior defensive players that will now be playing on Sundays, but it doesn't stop there. Jared Harrison Hunt, Nigel Kelly, and Jafari Harvey are all gone through the transfer portal. They have found new homes with new programs. So your really only main returning defensive lineman is Ruben Bain. Now was the leading tackler among defensive linemen last season with 44 tackles and 7.5 sacks. That was tied for the team lead, and a plethora of talent comes in through the transfer portal. Tyler Barron comes over from Tennessee, originally committed to Louisville, hopped back in the portal. Now he is here at Miami. CJ Clark comes in from NC State. Elijah Alston comes over from Marshall. Simeon Barrow, who, look, there's some things going on with him. He may very well not be a Miami Hurricane once everything is said and done. As far as I can tell right now, he is still on that team, but rumors of him hopping back in the transfer portal, so put a little asterisk next to Simeon Barrow's name. He comes over from Michigan State regardless if he stays or not, and Marley Cook is a 4-star transfer from Middle Tennessee State. Linebacker room does lose KJ Cloyd, a very talented linebacker. Had 44 tackles, 2 sacks, a pass defender last season. Corey Flagg Jr. is off through the portal, 48 tackles for him last season. And then Keontra Smith did graduate, a depth piece in the linebacker room, at 15 tackles last season. So your linebacker room is going to look like this. Francisco Maui-Goa, again, another guy that had 7.5 sacks last year, did lead the team with 82 tackles. That's a big get back. Wesley Basainth, apologies if I said that last name wrong, but he does come back in the linebacker room as well. 44 tackles, 2 sacks last season. Raul Aguirre Jr. coming back, and Jalen Alderman is a transfer coming over. He comes over by way of Louisville. So some nice pieces coming back, and as well as Alderman getting a boost to that linebacker room. Defensive back room loses some A-plus talent, especially in the safety position. We'll get there when we get there. But in the quarterback room, Jaden Davis is going to be gone, as well as Corey Couch. Obviously, those are NFL-level players. They went to the league. They are very, very talented players. And Devontae Brown does leave through the transfer portal. 14 tackles for him last season. But the safety is where some of your bigger losses come in, because your top two safeties in terms of tackles, in terms of talent, are both gone. Cameron Kitchens had 59 tackles, third on the team, 5 passes defended, and the team high 5 interceptions last season. Couch was second with 3. And then James Williams, 73 tackles, 4 passes defended last season for him. So your defensive back room looks a little something like this. Daryl Portal Jr., Damari Brown, and Jadias Richard will be coming back to highlight this cornerback room, as well as Deani Hill, who will be coming in here from Marshall to play corner for this team. Jaden Harris and Markeith Williams do come back in the safety position, but some key transfers do come into this position grouping as well. Michelle Powell comes over from Washington, one of the best safeties there from that Washington team last season. And then Isaiah Taylor is coming over from Arizona. You also do have Savion Riley coming over from Vanderbilt. And hey, kickers are people too. Let's show them some love. No one really leaving the special teams unit. So Dylan Joyce back as the punter, and Andres Borregal's going to be coming back as the kicker. I knew there were some spelling errors in there. Michelle Powell had an E, and then it's Borregales with an E. I definitely knew that one was wrong as soon as I saw it. So apologies for those. But this is a defense that should still be really good for Miami. They have a great talent level defensive line, even if Simeon Barrow comes back or not. Obviously, if Barrow's going to be on this team, that's a huge boost. But regardless, still a lot of talented pieces coming through the transfer portal. The defensive back room has a lot of talented pieces coming in. Lance Guidry's a pretty solid defensive coordinator. This is going to be a really solid defense, if not a really, really good defense out of the ACC for Miami in 2024, which leads me into their schedule for next season. Any game at home is underlined, while any game on the road is in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Hurricanes are going to win easily, while any game in yellow is a game that the other team is going to end up posing a big threat to Miami, but I do think that the Hurricanes are able to win, while red is a loss. And you start out against an SEC opponent on the road, an in-state rivalry game of sorts. They go on the road and play the Florida Gators. Now, Florida is a team that, well, let's be honest with ourselves, is going to be really, really tricky to figure out here in 2024. Billy Napier just hasn't performed the way a lot of people thought that he might in Florida, and then a lot of people also think that Billy Napier, just not a great head coach. Graham Mertz does come back. They got some great wide receiver They got some great wide receivers coming over through the portal, some defensive talent coming in here and there as well. But Florida's got a very, very tough schedule. This is definitely going to be a determinant of whether or not Florida's going to have a good year or a bad year if they're able to beat the Miami Hurricanes. Now, to me, Miami is the more talented team, and I do see them winning this game, especially with Cam Ward, with Damian Martinez, with Xavier Restrepo, with that combination of guys offensively. I don't think Florida is going to be able to slow them down. Would it shock me if Florida won the game? No, not at all. But that's not what I'm predicting here. I think Miami opens the season with a win, and they're going to be able to win that game on the road in the Swamp. I do have them being the more talented team than Florida, and I think it shows. They get a win against the Gators. They should get a win against Florida A&M. That's an FCS level team, and then they should be able to beat Ball State as well. But now you have a very tricky road game. You have to go on the road to play South Florida. And South Florida is a team that, look, last season, I thoroughly underestimated, as I'm sure a lot of other people out there did as well. South Florida is a team that emerged last season. They have a ton of talented players on that team. And much like with a lot of these other group of 5 teams, when you go on the road and you count out a team like South Florida, it's only going to lead to bad things for you. Do not count out this South Florida team. There is a ton of talent here, a ton of great players, and they are going to give Miami a very, very hard fight. Is Miami the most talented team? Yes. This would not surprise me if Miami lost this game. It truly, truly wouldn't. I will give them the benefit of the doubt here, though, and they will win this game. So those first 4 games, they could lose that Florida game, or they could lose that South Florida game, and neither would shock me. Now, if they drop one, it's not going to shock me. If they drop both, that might surprise me a little bit. But those are two games that I see Miami being able to pull out, but they are definitely games that Miami can go and lose. However, that next week against Virginia Tech is another very, very tricky game, in my opinion, because Virginia Tech has got a lot of pieces coming back to that team. Brent Pry has done a phenomenal job at being able to help this program move in the right direction. And Virginia Tech is going to be one of the sleepers in the ACC this year. I think they're going to be a very good, highly underrated team. I think this is a team that I know there are a couple people out there saying can push for a playoff spot. I don't know if they'll be that good, but they will be good enough to help beat Miami, but I don't think it happens. Now, Miami's one of the teams that doesn't really have a great home field advantage. But I do think that being at home is going to make a little bit of a difference here, mainly because it's not being played in Blacksburg. You don't have that hostile crowd behind you. I think Miami will find a way to win that game. I think they're also going to have trouble here going on the road and facing a Cal team that, look, I think is going to be really, really sneaky this year. They've got some good, talented pieces, some good guys coming in through the transfer portal, and especially this road trip. I think we're going to see road trips like this really affect some teams this year. You got to go all the way from Miami, Florida, all the way over to California. That is the entire length of the country. That road trip is going to suck. It's going to drain them. And I think Miami sees their struggles here. Yet I do have them winning this game. I just don't think Cal is as much of a matchup nightmare as they need to be able to get Miami sleeping and be able to beat Miami here in this game. However, after the bye week, their next game is Louisville is one of the losses I see for Miami on this schedule. I do think they end up dropping this game here to the Louisville Cardinals. That's a really, really talented team. They got Tyler Shuck coming in to replace Jack Plummer. Jeff Brom is a really, really good head coach and probably one of the more underrated head coaches in the entire country. That's a team that is loaded with transfers. They really hit it out of the park in the transfer portal this year. They did lose out on a couple big-time guys, and some of their other guys, again, are now with this Miami program. And again, Tyler Barron, they did lose out on him, but Louisville's still an extremely, extremely talented team. That's going to be a tough place to play this year, and I think Miami picks up the loss right there. And it wouldn't surprise me here if they were to end up losing back-to-back road games. Florida State's going to be a very talented team this year, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, they lost a lot of talent. What are they going to be without Coleman and Travis and all these other guys that left? There's still some great offensive talent here, some good pieces coming in through the portal, and the defense, yes, while it lost a lot of talent, still has a lot of good guys there, led by Fentrell Cypress, that former Virginia corner. He's going to be a good player. The defense still has some good talent, but I do think Miami offensively will be able to take advantage of all the talent that Florida State lost on the defensive side, and Miami will be able to win that game. And being at home, again, another big deal. They avoid a hostile crowd in Florida State. And now you got some questions here. Duke, there's going to be some storylines here. Duke is a team that just, I don't think you're going to be able to count out this season at all. Not even in the slightest bit. They have a quarterback transfer coming over from Texas in Malik Murphy, who probably will end up being that starter to replace Riley Leonard. While there are a lot of guys that leave that team, you're facing your former head coach in Manny Diaz, but I think you're still going to be able to get the win. I don't think Duke is as talented as they were last year, but now you enter the game with Georgia Tech. We all know what happened in the game against Georgia Tech last year. People make jokes, people laugh about it, and I think it's going to bite him again. Now, Mario Cristobal is, you could argue, a pretty darn good head coach. He costs his team at least one game every single year. That is not an arguable point, and I think it happens to be Georgia Tech again here. Now, it could be Virginia Tech, it could be Cal. Georgia Tech is a team that is on the rise, on the road. I think that home field environment's going to be really loud, and Georgia Tech is able to pick up the win there. But then I got Miami being able to win out here. Wake Forest does have some pretty solid players, but Miami's going to be too talented offensively. Wake Forest does not have the defensive talent to limit Miami as much as it needs to be able to win that game. And Syracuse, look, they have Kyle McCord. They have a lot of really, really talented players, especially in that wide receiver position. They always find a way to have some good defensive backs. So Syracuse is going to pose Miami a battle, but I do think Miami wins that game, which means I have this team at 10-2. maybe a little bit higher than what a lot of people have out there. And I know it feels like we say this about Miami every year, but this is the year they finally get back to winning double-digit games. This is a very, very manageable schedule here on screen. Louisville is probably definitely your toughest game, maybe next to Florida State. But you get that Florida State game at home. Florida's got a lot of questions. You avoid going on the road to play against Virginia Tech. Very manageable schedule, and I think the Hurricanes go 10-2. Hey, we're going to send Tennessee up next. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and let me know what you thought about the Hurricanes in the comment section below. Goodbye. See you in the next one.